The sky above the planet Elithria glowed with shades of violet and gold. Its twin suns cast long shadows across the grand capital city, a place of shining towers and silver spires. From the highest balcony of the royal palace, Queen Leorona stared out over her domain. Her face, usually proud and strong, was marked with deep sorrow. Years ago, her daughter, Princess Alara, had disappeared. One moment, the young princess had been playing in the palace gardens, laughing as the alien birds sang around her. The next, she was gone, swept away during a surprise raid by a hostile alien faction known as the Varker. Despite the queen's best efforts, no trace of Alara was ever found. The loss had shaken the queen to her core. She ruled her people with wisdom and courage. But beneath it all was a mother's pain that never healed. The Varker were ruthless. They had attacked Elithria's border settlements, taking prisoners and destroying anything that resisted. For the queen, Alara's disappearance was not just a personal loss, it was a wound to the empire itself. Every day she sent scouts, every day she hoped for news. And every day she feared the worst, far from Elithria, beyond the outer sectors of the galaxy. A human soldier named Captain Jason Reed piloted his ship with careful precision. Jason had become known throughout human space for his bravery and skill. He had faced countless dangers, from rogue mercenaries to deadly alien predators, and always came through. He was lean and strong, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Today, Jason was on a mission unlike any other. He had received intelligence reports of a hidden Varker outpost on a remote asteroid planet, one used to hold prisoners from multiple species. Reports mentioned a young female alien matching Princess Alara's description, though nothing was confirmed. Humans rarely interfered in alien politics, but Jason had a reputation for stepping into dangerous situations if lives were at stake. The asteroid loomed before him, jagged and gray. Its surface was covered with frozen rock, dusted with strange crystalline formations that glimmered like stars. Jason's ship descended carefully, landing in a narrow clearing. He checked his equipment: energy rifle, combat knives, communication devices, and a portable shield generator. Everything was ready. Inside the Varker outpost, the prisoners sat in small, dimly lit cells. They were frightened, hungry, and unsure if anyone would come to save them. Princess Alara, now grown into a young adult, sat quietly against the wall of her cell. Her golden hair fell over her shoulders, and her violet eyes were filled with both determination and sorrow. She had survived by her wits, using every skill her mother had taught her. But years of captivity had taken their toll. She longed for freedom and feared she might never see her mother again. Suddenly alarms blared. A figure moved silently in the shadows. Jason had arrived. Using his knowledge of stealth tactics, he disabled the outer guards with precision. The Varker, accustomed to brutality rather than cunning, were caught off guard. Jason moved quickly through the corridors, checking each cell as he went. When he reached Alara's door, he recognized her immediately from the holographic images he had seen before his mission. Princess Alara. He whispered, crouching beside her. Alara's eyes widened. Who are you?" she asked, wary but hopeful. "I'm Captain Jason Reed," he said softly. "I'm here to take you home. You're safe now." Tears welled in Alara's eyes. She wanted to believe him, but years of fear had made trust difficult. Still, something about the human's presence felt different. He radiated a calm strength, a quiet determination that reminded her of her mother. She nodded. "Thank you," she whispered. Jason unlocked her cell and led her through the outpost. They avoided patrols, using shadows and corridors to stay hidden. Alara noticed his careful movements, his attention to every detail. He didn't just rely on weapons, he observed, planned, and anticipated every danger. It was unlike anything she had seen among her own kind. Finally, they reached the outer perimeter. A few remaining Varker guards stood between them and freedom. Jason raised his rifle. With precise timing, he used a combination of his weapon and improvised traps to disable the guards without unnecessary harm. Alara watched in awe as the human soldier moved with skill, courage, and compassion all at once. Once the guards were down, they reached Jason's ship. It was small but fast, built for dangerous missions. Alara stepped aboard, feeling a strange mix of relief and nervousness. The stars stretched out before them as the ship lifted off the asteroid and into open space. "Where are we going?" Alara asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Home," Jason replied simply. "To your mother." The journey was tense. Enemy ships patrolled nearby, and Jason had to navigate through asteroid fields and energy storms. Each maneuver tested his skill, but he remained calm, focused entirely on protecting Alara. During brief moments of quiet, Alara asked him questions about humans. She had heard stories humans were unpredictable, fragile, and often reckless. But this one human proved otherwise. He was brave, intelligent, and kind. She began to realize that humans might hold strengths her people had never understood. Meanwhile, back on Elithria, Queen Lorona felt a stirring in her heart. A strange sensation, almost like hope, began to grow. Scouts had reported a small craft moving through enemy territory, a human ship. The Queen's advisors were skeptical. "Humans rarely intervene in our affairs," one said. "It is unlikely they would risk themselves for a single alien prisoner." But Lyrina's intuition told her otherwise. Something was coming. Something important. She could not explain it, but her heart told her it was her daughter. Hours later, Jason's ship entered Elithria's airspace. The capital city stretched out below, gleaming in the light of the twin suns. Alara pressed her hands against the view screen, her heart racing. After years of captivity, after endless nights of fear, she could see her home again. Tears streamed down her face. Jason noticed her reaction. "It's not over yet," he said gently. "We still have to get through the city safely." The enemy had not given up. Scouts and patrols remained near the city's outskirts. Jason skillfully guided the ship, avoiding detection. Finally, they landed near the palace gates under the cover of darkness. Alara looked at the grand palace towers. Remembering her childhood, there the gardens, the music halls, the lessons her mother had taught her. "Thank you," she whispered again, her voice filled with emotion, "for bringing me back." Jason smiled faintly. "It was my duty. No one should be held captive like that," Alara nodded, feeling a connection to this human she barely knew. His courage and compassion had given her a second chance at life, and she would never forget it. As they approached the palace gates, the alarm system suddenly activated. Enemy spies had followed them, hoping to reclaim their prisoner. Jason stepped forward, positioning himself between Alara and danger. Even without a weapon, his presence was commanding. He had faced countless threats and survived. He would not let anyone take her away again. "Stay behind me," he said. Alara watched as he prepared to defend them, marveling at his fearlessness. Humans might be small compared to Elithria's warriors, but their courage, intelligence, and determination made them formidable. She realized in that moment that humanity was capable of extraordinary things. The gates opened, and Elithria's palace guards rushed to their aid, driving off the remaining enemies. Alara stepped through the gates, heart pounding. She was home. Her mother waited inside, pacing the grand hall, her eyes scanning every entrance. When Queen Lorena saw her daughter, she froze. Time seemed to stand still. Alara ran to her mother, tears streaming down her face. "Mother, I'm back," she cried. The queen's knees buckled as she embraced her daughter, holding her tightly. Years of sorrow, fear, and longing flooded through her. She wept openly, her heart overflowing with relief. Jason stepped back, allowing mother and daughter to reunite. The queen turned to him, her eyes wide with gratitude. You've saved her," she whispered. How can I ever repay you?" Jason shook his head. "No reward is needed. I only did what was right." Alara held her mother's hand and looked at Jason. "You are brave, and kind, and strong. I will never forget you." Queen Lorona studied him, recognizing the courage and honor in his eyes. She realized that humans, despite their differences, possessed qualities that could rival even the greatest Elithrian warriors. Perhaps this was the beginning of a new understanding between their peoples. That night, Elithria celebrated quietly. The lost princess had returned, and the queen's heart was no longer burdened with sorrow. Outside the palace, stars shimmered across the sky, and somewhere far away, Jason prepared for his next mission. But in that moment, he had proven that humanity, though small and far from home, could achieve the extraordinary, and for Princess Alara, the journey had only just begun. She had survived the darkness, and now, with her mother and a human soldier by her side, she would face whatever challenges the galaxy could throw at her. Together, they were unstoppable. The morning sun rose over Elithria, casting warm golden light on the palace's silver towers. Princess Alara sat in her chambers, still trying to grasp the reality of her return. The walls that had once felt like a distant memory now surrounded her again, familiar and comforting. But she knew her freedom was only the first step. Danger still lingered beyond the palace walls. The Varkar had not been defeated. They were cunning, patient, and relentless. Jason Reed, the human soldier who had risked everything to rescue her, remained in the palace temporarily, briefing the queen and her generals. Unlike the Elithrian soldiers, Jason did not rely on brute strength alone. He used strategy, logic, and creativity to overcome challenges. The queen watched him carefully, impressed by the way he analyzed every situation with calm determination. "You have saved my daughter," Queen Lerona said, her voice still tinged with emotion. "Your courage has given Elithria hope, but the Varkar will not stop. You must be ready." Jason nodded. "I understand. I did what any soldier should do. Now, we must ensure they cannot strike again. Alara's safety depends on it." Alara approached, her violet eyes meeting Jason's. "I want to help," she said softly. "I cannot stand idle while our people are in danger. I have learned much about their plans during captivity. I can guide you." Jason studied her carefully. "You've survived their schemes for years. Your insight could be very valuable. But you must stay safe. If anything happens to you again—" He did not finish the sentence, but the concern in his voice was clear. Together, they began planning a journey beyond the palace walls to locate remaining Varkar outposts. Alara had memorized enemy routes and secret bases during her years in captivity. Jason combined her knowledge with his human tactics to create an efficient plan. They would travel through remote terrain, avoiding patrols, and strike strategically where needed. The first leg of their journey took them across the Elithrian plains. Rolling hills of emerald grass stretched as far as the eye could see, dotted with crystalline trees that sparkled in sunlight. Alara marveled at the beauty, but she remained focused on their mission. Jason admired her composure. Despite years of imprisonment and hardship, she carried herself with grace, intelligence, and determination. Their first encounter came sooner than expected. A small patrol of Varkar scouts had discovered unusual activity near one of their hidden bases. Jason and Alara had to act quickly. They hid among the crystalline trees, observing the patrol's movements. Jason whispered instructions, teaching Alara how to anticipate enemy actions. Together, they created a distraction, luring the scouts into a narrow valley where they could be subdued without causing unnecessary harm. Alara moved with precision, guiding Jason silently. When the scouts were finally immobilized, she felt a surge of pride. Humans and Elithrians could work together in ways she had never imagined. She began to see Jason not just as a rescuer, but as a true ally. As night fell, they set up camp near a small river that glimmered like liquid silver under the twin moons. The air was cool, filled with the scent of alien flowers. Alara sat by the fire, her thoughts heavy with memories of captivity. "I thought I would never see my mother again," she said quietly. "I feared I would live and die in a Varkar cell." Jason handed her a water flask. "You survived. That shows strength most cannot imagine." Humans have a saying, "The darkest night often leads to the brightest dawn." You have reached your dawn, and your story is not over. Lara smiled faintly. She realized that humans had a unique perspective on life, hope in the face of despair, courage, even when all seemed lost. Jason's presence reminded her that strength came in many forms. It's not just Elithrian power. The next day, they continued their journey through dense forests and rocky mountains. Enemy ambushes were frequent, but Jason's tactics kept them safe. He used the terrain, unpredictable movements, and clever diversions to outsmart the Varker. Alara contributed to guiding him with her intimate knowledge of the enemy's strategies. Each encounter strengthened their trust and cooperation. During a brief pause near a cliffside, Lara asked, "Do humans often fight alone in dangerous lands?" Jason shook his head. "We fight as teams when possible, but sometimes a soldier must act alone to protect others. It's not about strength, it's about responsibility and courage." Lara considered this. "In my world, strength is often measured by power or skill. But humans, you measure strength differently, by courage, loyalty, and intelligence." "I have never seen this before." Jason smiled slightly. "Every species has its own strengths. Humans are not the strongest in terms of raw power, but our determination can change outcomes that seem impossible." As they approached the Varker's secondary outpost, they discovered it was larger and more fortified than anticipated. Jason studied the structures carefully. "We cannot attack head-on," he said. "We must use stealth and misdirection." "Alara, your knowledge of the interior can guide us." Lara nodded. Together, they devised a plan. Under the cover of darkness, they moved silently through the terrain, using shadows, trees, and natural formations for concealment. Jason disabled traps with careful precision while Alara identified patrol patterns. Their combined efforts allowed them to bypass heavily guarded areas without detection. Inside the outpost, Lara's heart raced. She remembered these halls from her captivity. The dim lighting, the cold metallic floors, the harsh voices of the Varker. But now, she was not alone. Jason's presence gave her courage she hadn't realized she still possessed. Together, they freed prisoners held in cells, guiding them quietly to safety. During one tense moment, a Varker commander spotted them. Jason reacted instantly, using a combination of his energy rifle and hand-to-hand combat skills to neutralize the threat. Alara assisted, using her agility and knowledge of the corridors to flank the enemy. The fight was brief but intense. Jason's human ingenuity and Alara's familiarity with the outpost made them a formidable team. Once the remaining prisoners were safe, they retreated to a hidden escape route Alara had discovered during her years in captivity. They emerged into the forest outside, hearts pounding with relief. Alara turned to Jason. "I never imagined a human could be so extraordinary. You saved not just me, but all of them." Jason shrugged lightly. "I did what anyone with a chance to help would do. The credit is yours too, you guided us." As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky with shades of pink and orange, Alara and Jason paused to catch their breath. For the first time in years, Alara felt hope not just for herself, but for Elithria. Humans, she realized, possessed qualities her people could admire: bravery, empathy, and an unyielding spirit. Their journey continued, taking them through deserts of shifting crystal sands, across rivers of glowing liquid, and over jagged mountains. Each challenge tested their abilities and strengthened their bond. Alara learned more about humans, how they relied on ingenuity, courage, and teamwork rather than raw power. She began to understand why her mother had always valued wisdom and bravery above all else. Finally, after days of travel, they approached Elithria's capital once more. The twin suns illuminated the city's towers, shining like beacons of hope. The palace gates were still guarded, and the enemy had not entirely retreated. Jason and Alara moved cautiously, aware that their final approach would not be easy. Suddenly, a squad of Varker soldiers appeared, attempting to intercept them before they could reach the palace. Jason acted quickly, creating diversions and guiding Alara through a narrow path. She moved with confidence, using her knowledge of the city's layout to stay ahead of the enemy. Together, they outsmarted the attackers, demonstrating that strategy, courage, and cooperation could overcome even the most formidable foes. As they reached the palace gates, Elithrian soldiers poured out to meet them, driving away the last of the Varker. Alara's heart raced as she finally saw the grand hall where her mother waited. Queen Lorena, sensing her daughter's return, had prepared for the reunion. When Alara stepped through the gates, she ran to her mother, tears streaming down her face. "Mother, I'm back," she cried. The queen embraced her daughter tightly, sobbing openly. "Alara, my child, you are safe." Jason stepped back, giving mother and daughter a moment to reunite. The queen turned to him, gratitude shining in her eyes. "You have done what no one else could. You saved my daughter and the future of Elithria." "How can I ever thank you?" Jason smiled faintly. "No thanks are necessary. I only did what was right." Lara, holding her mother's hand, looked at Jason. "You are brave, human. Your courage has changed everything for me and my people. I will never forget you." Queen Lorena studied him carefully. "Perhaps humans are not the outsiders we once thought. Perhaps they are allies, and maybe even heroes, in ways we could not imagine." That night, Elithria celebrated quietly. Alara had returned, the queen's heart was lighter, and the empire felt renewed hope. Outside, stars twinkled across the sky, and somewhere in the galaxy, Jason prepared for his next mission. But for now, he had proven that humanity, though far from home, could achieve extraordinary things. And for Princess Alara, the journey was far from over. She had survived the darkness of captivity, discovered the courage of humans, and now stood ready to face the future with her mother and a human soldier by her side, prepared for whatever challenges the galaxy could throw at them. The palace of Elithria shone under the light of twin suns, its silver towers glinting like stars. Inside, Queen Lorena paced in the grand hall, her heart still filled with relief and worry. Her daughter, Princess Alara, returned safely thanks to the courage of a human soldier named Jason Reed. Yet the Varker threat had not vanished. They were clever, patient, and would not give up easily. The queen knew that while Alara was safe inside the palace, danger still loomed beyond the walls. Jason stood nearby, analyzing reports from the palace scouts. "The Varker are planning a final strike," he said calmly. "They know Alara has returned, and they will attempt to reclaim her. We need to prepare immediately." Lara, standing beside her mother, felt a mixture of fear and determination. She had survived captivity, traveled across dangerous lands, and witnessed Jason's courage firsthand. Now, she needed to be strong for her mother and her people. "We are ready," she said, her voice firm. "We will not let them take me or anyone else from Elithria." Queen Lorena nodded, a silent pride in her eyes. She had taught Alara to be brave, to think clearly in times of danger. But seeing her daughter now armed with knowledge of the enemy and the guidance of a human soldier, she felt hope like never before. The city's defenses were reinforced. Soldiers stationed strategically along the walls and gates. Jason and Alara led planning sessions, combining Elithrian knowledge with human tactics. Jason's approach was different from anything the Elithrians had seen. He focused on anticipation, strategy, and adaptability rather than relying solely on strength. His methods were precise, efficient, and effective. As dusk fell, scouts reported movement in the distance. The Varker had launched their attack. Small groups of enemy ships descended from the sky, aiming for the palace gates. Jason quickly organized a defensive plan. Elithrian archers, trained in advanced energy weaponry, were positioned along the walls. Alara moved among the soldiers, guiding them on the enemy's patterns and weaknesses. The first wave of attackers reached the palace. Energy blasts lit up the evening sky, and alarms rang across the city. Jason led a team to intercept intruders who had managed to breach outer defenses. His movements were swift and deliberate. Combining human ingenuity with Elithrian technology, he used the terrain to his advantage, luring enemies into traps and cutting off their escape routes. Alara fought alongside him, her royal training evident in every move. She was agile, precise, and fearless, guiding soldiers and protecting civilians who had been caught in the chaos. Together, Alara and Jason moved as one, a combination of human resourcefulness and Elithrian skill. They proved that teamwork, courage, and intelligence could overcome even the deadliest foes. Inside the palace, Queen Lirona observed anxiously. The grand hall doors shook as the battle intensified. Soldiers rushed to repel attackers who had penetrated the outer defenses. Suddenly, a group of Varker warriors appeared near the throne room. Queen Lirona felt her heart tighten. She could not allow them to reach her daughter. Jason, sensing the imminent danger, moved quickly. He positioned himself between Alara and the approaching enemies, his energy rifle ready. "Stay behind me," he said calmly but firmly. His presence was commanding, even to Elithrian soldiers. He had faced countless threats and always emerged victorious. Not because of strength alone, but because of courage, intelligence, and unwavering determination. Lara watched in awe as Jason engaged the Varker. His movements were precise, every action calculated to protect her and minimize harm. He used the enemy's own momentum against them, turning their attacks into disadvantages. Despite being human, smaller, and physically weaker than the Elithrians, Jason demonstrated a heroism that exceeded all expectations. The battle raged across the palace grounds. Elithrian soldiers, inspired by Jason's bravery, fought with renewed vigor. Alara coordinated with the archers and defenders, guiding them to where they could be most effective. Slowly but surely, the Varker forces began to falter. Their strategies, once so carefully planned, crumbled against the combined ingenuity of humans and Elithrians. Finally, the last group of Varker warriors retreated, their ships lifting off into the sky. The palace grounds were quiet, except for the sounds of Elithrian soldiers catching their breath and tending to the wounded. Alara ran to her mother, tears streaming down her face. "Mother, we did it. We are safe," she cried. Queen Lirona embraced her daughter tightly, her body trembling with emotion. "Alara, my child, you are alive. You have returned to me." She wept openly, tears of relief and joy streaming down her face. Years of sorrow, fear, and longing poured out in that embrace. Jason stood to the side, watching the reunion quietly. The Queen turned to him, her eyes filled with gratitude and respect. "Captain Jason Reed," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "You have done what no one else could. You saved my daughter and my people. How can we ever repay you?" Jason shook his head. "No reward is necessary. I only did what was right. Anyone with the chance to help would do the same." Alara joined them, taking Jason's hand. "You are brave, human. Your courage has changed the fate of Elithria. We owe you more than words can say." The Queen studied him, realizing the truth she had once doubted. Humans, despite their differences, possess qualities that could rival even the greatest Elithrian warriors. Bravery, intelligence, and compassion were their greatest strengths. "Perhaps humans are not merely outsiders," she said softly. "Perhaps they are heroes in their own right." In the days that followed, Elithria began to rebuild. The city repaired the damage from the Varker attack, and the people celebrated the return of their princess. Alara worked alongside Jason, learning more about human strategies and sharing her own knowledge of Elithrian tactics. Their bond deepened, built on mutual respect and shared experiences. Queen Lirona formally honored Jason in a grand ceremony. Soldiers and citizens gathered as the Queen spoke. "Today, we recognize a human soldier who has risked life and limb to save Elithria and its future. Captain Jason Reed embodies the courage, intelligence, and honor that all beings should strive for. Let this day remind us that heroes can come from any corner of the galaxy." Jason bowed respectfully. "I am honored, Your Majesty. I only did what was necessary to protect life. The true hero is this princess, who survived against impossible odds." Alara smiled, her eyes shining. "Jason, you have shown me the meaning of true courage. I will never forget your bravery, and I will carry the lessons of your actions for the rest of my life." The Queen placed a hand on Alara's shoulder. "And I am proud of you, my daughter. Your strength, wisdom, and courage have returned hope to Elithria. Together, we will ensure our people are safe and strong." As night fell over the palace, the twin moons reflected off the silver towers. Jason looked out over the city, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. He had proven that humans, though small and far from home, could achieve extraordinary feats. He had saved a princess, forged new alliances, and shown that courage and intelligence could overcome even the most formidable threats. Alara joined him, standing quietly at his side. "The galaxy is vast and dangerous," she said softly. "But with allies like you, we can face anything." Jason smiled faintly. "Humans are not invincible, but we never give up. We fight for what is right, and we protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is our strength." The queen appeared behind them, her presence regal and commanding yet filled with warmth. "Elithria owes you more than words can express," she said. "You have changed the course of our history. You are always welcome here, Captain Jason Reed." Jason bowed again. "Thank you, Your Majesty. It is an honor to serve." The three of them stood together on the palace balcony, looking out over the city and the stars beyond. The threat of the Varka remained, but Elithria was stronger now. Humans had proven their courage and ingenuity, and the bond between species had grown stronger in that moment. The queen's tears were not only for relief, they were tears of hope, admiration, and recognition. Her daughter had returned, her people were safe, and a human had shown the galaxy the true meaning of courage. Elithria would never forget that a single human soldier had changed everything. Alara turned to Jason, her eyes bright. "I am grateful for everything you have done. You have shown me a new way to see the galaxy and the strength of those we once called outsiders." Elisa nodded. "And I am grateful to have witnessed your courage. Elithria has shown me that bravery, loyalty, and wisdom come in many forms. Together we are unstoppable." The twin moons shone down on the palace as the night deepened. The city slept, safe and peaceful, while the stars stretched across the sky. A reminder that even in a vast and dangerous galaxy, courage and determination could light the way. And for Princess Alara, Queen Lorona, and Captain Jason Reed, the journey was only beginning. Together, they had faced darkness and emerged victorious. The bond between Elithrians and humans had been forged in fire and courage, a connection that would endure across the stars. Elithria was safe. The lost princess had returned, and humanity had proven its worth.